Welcome to Trending Unpacked, the show where viral stories meet everyday curiosity. So if you're anything like us, you've probably found yourself just sinking time into that endless scroll on TikTok or X these last few weeks.
It's hard not to.
Right, and you're just bouncing between all this super polished content, political hot takes, someone's amazing cooking video, and then bam! You just hit this wall of total numerical absurdity.
And that wall is just 2 digits, 6 and 7.
That's it. That's the whole thing, and it's so frustrating, but also kind of beautiful. It's just 6-7. That's the entire cultural flashpoint.
Yeah, the clips are so simple.
They really are. You see these quick videos. Sometimes they've got this really dramatic audio playing over them. Other times it's just someone staring blankly at the camera with this look of, pure knowing disbelief.
And the reaction memes are just as split.
Yeah.
Either someone is laughing hysterically, like they've just heard the best joke of their life.
Or they look profoundly confused, maybe even a little angry.
It's the comments section, though. That's where you really see the chaos unfold. It becomes this instant, temporary social battlefield.
And it's split, what, 3 ways?
Exactly 3 ways. You've got the people who are just typing variations of the joke. Then you have the ones frantically trying to explain it to their friends, making up this elaborate, totally non-existent backstory for it.
And then there's the rest of us, the vast, bewildered majority, just typing, wait, what is this? What does it even mean?
And that's the engine, that confusion.
It's this incredible cultural feedback loop, isn't it? It's the simplest possible thing, a contrast between 2 numbers right next to each other. But it's getting global attention and fueling just maximum engagement.
All because it sparks both genuine humor and just deep, deep misunderstanding.
We're literally watching collective confusion turn into high-performing content.
And that dynamic is exactly what we need to get into today.
That is the mission. We've pulled together the sources analyzing this whole moment. We need to figure out why something so minimal, a basic numerical contrast, is taking off globally right now. Why is it becoming this shorthand for everything from internet lore to some kind of satirical commentary?
Okay, Elizabeth.
So let's unpack this strange dominance of the 6-7 phenomenon.
All right, so let's start with the cold hard definition. Because with this one, understanding the definition really means you have to accept the anti-punchline.
Okay.
So sources are defining this as a viral number-based meme centered on the digits 6 and 7. In all the different ways people are using it, it's pretty consistently used in a humorous context that's meant to emphasize, extreme contrast or deliberate misunderstanding, or sometimes just pure abstract wordplay.
So it's like the ultimate internet puzzle box where the prize inside is just an empty box.
Precisely. The whole point, the kernel of the humor, is rooted in the absurdity of assigning some deep, profound meaning or complicated story to 2 simple sequential numbers.
It's funny because of the expectation it sets up.
Yes. The way it goes viral, it sets up this expectation of a huge, complex joke, and then the actual content just completely subverts that by being, by being nothing at all.
So the joke is actually on us. It's about the internet's desperate need to find a joke in everything.
Absolutely. It functions as a meta joke. It's a critique of the very culture that's consuming it. And critically, our sources identify it as being explicitly designed as an inside joke meme, which is just, the key to how it spreads.
Right, because that structure immediately encourages sharing.
And it creates a sharp, immediate separation between those who get it, which really just means people who are online at that exact moment, and those who don't.
Which is most people at first.
Right, the outsiders or the people who are just encountering the trend a day too late.
That dynamic of temporary exclusion and inclusion, that's pure social gold online. But this kind of minimal number-based humor, it's not totally new, is it? It feels like we cycle back to this kind of abstraction whenever the feeds get too dense.
That's a really critical observation.
Yeah.
And yeah, the material confirms that. Minimal humor, especially humor based on simple formats or numbers, it cycles every few years.
Okay.
If you look back, the internet just occasionally hits this threshold of information saturation. Too many complex narratives, too many highly produced videos, just too much context required to get the joke.
And when that happens?
Audiences, and particularly younger audiences, they instinctively retreat into pure abstract concepts for their humor.
Is that kind of the same mechanism that fueled older trends? I'm thinking of some like the Yanni or Laurel audio illusion, or even going way back, the debate over the dress.
Yes, exactly.
Those were things that required zero context but generated maximum argument.
Exactly. But this is even more stripped down. With a dress or the audio illusions, you at least had something concrete to disagree about, a color, a sound. The 6-7 meme, it only gives you abstract sequential data, It's like the final boss of minimalist humor,
It requires zero prior knowledge, just shared immediate context.
which is the current state of the feed.
Let's try and nail down the origin, because where it started seems to dictate how it gets treated. The sources seem to suggest it began with a very specific short-form video clip, probably on TikTok, before it just exploded everywhere else.
That concentrated origin is so important. It means there was an initial sound or a visual trigger that everyone was referencing at the start. And the creators who jumped on this early, they understood that the power was in keeping it ambiguous, not in solving it.
And they use specific captions to signal that, almost like viral signposts.
Totally. You saw the classic examples everywhere.
This explains everything, which of course explains absolutely nothing.
And my personal favorite, the classic gatekeeper phrase, the one that guarantees your comment thread will just explode. You either get it or you don't.
Ugh, that one.
Those captions are designed to perform a psychological trick. They imply there's this immense knowledge or some profound insight being withheld, which just makes the confused user desperate to participate.
And I've seen the simple, chaotic ones too, just like 6'7" is wild.
Yes. And those phrases, they aren't delivering a punchline. They're delivering an invitation to join a temporary low-stakes cultural conversation. And that invitation is often way more compelling online than a clear, closed-loop joke.
Okay, that explains the initial surge. But let's get into the mechanics. How did something so basic achieve such a rapid cross-platform spread? What is it about two numbers that turbocharges the algorithm more than, say, a traditionally funny video?
This is where we have to get a little technical. The spread was so seamless because of its pure simplicity. The format is ridiculously easy to recreate, to remix, to interpret across text, audio, visual, anything. You don't need fancy editing or a big production budget.
You just need two numbers and a reaction shot.
That's it. And that brevity, the short, punchy nature of just two numbers, that is perfectly optimized for the continuous feed logic of modern platforms.
Right. It requires minimal time on screen to absorb the core idea. It works perfectly with autoplay.
Yes, and the stop rate is crucial here. The algorithm often rewards content that causes users to pause their scroll, even if that pause is just driven by pure confusion.
So if a user sees a dramatic caption and two simple numbers, they pause just to process the disconnect.
And that stop rate signals interest to the algorithm, even if the interest is just puzzlement.
But I want to push back on this a little bit. If the joke is just a subversion of expectation, isn't the algorithm also rewarding, for lack of a better word, negative engagement? I mean, we've seen sources suggesting that platforms prioritize the speed of comments over positive sentiment.
That is the crucial insight, and yes, the material backs you up completely. This whole phenomenon is a textbook case of an algorithmic feedback loop, where confusion equals premium engagement.
Okay.
Think about it. Traditional metrics like likes or shares often indicate satisfaction, but content that generates massive comment velocity, specifically that overwhelming surge of, "What does this mean?" or "Someone please explain this," that signals high conversational potential.
So the algorithm is treating, "I don't get this," the same way it treats "I love this." It's just prioritizing the sheer volume of response.
Exactly. When a joke has a clear, defined punchline, people get it. Maybe they laugh and they move on. The loop is closed.
But because 6'7" has no defined punchline,
It forces users to stop, try to process it, and then engage socially to try and solve the puzzle. That open loop, that ambiguity, it encourages the creation of thousands of elaborate explanations and counter theories, all of which only make the original premise funnier in a meta way.
the system rewards the puzzle, not the solution.
Perfectly put.
And that makes the meme incredibly resilient. It doesn't just exist as one clip, it's a canvas for literally every other type of content. We should talk about its adaptability, because that's really the engine of remix culture here.
The adaptability is a defining trait of successful 2025 internet trends. This numerical contrast is so minimal, it can be stretched across any format you can imagine. We see duets and stitches that build on the original pairing, sometimes using it to reference, like historical events or cultural clashes that have absolutely nothing to do with numbers.
I saw a duet where someone just posted the 6'7" numbers, and the second creator just looks at the screen with this expression of like complete existential dread. No words, no context, just pure knowing performance art.
And that's efficient content creation. Then you get the wave of parodies, misinterpretations, and the deliberate fake explainers. I saw one video where a creator treated 6'7" like it was a reference to some complex, obscure financial regulation from the 1980s.
Which is brilliant. The deliberate misinterpretation ironically just doubles down on the core joke.
The meaninglessness is the point.
And all of this is a really powerful social dynamic, the if you know style meme. It's an immediate high-speed community builder for younger audiences who are just used to cultural trends evaporating in, like, 48 hours.
It fosters a sense of instantaneous, shared belonging. The joke is a low barrier to entry for viewing, but it requires current cultural fluency to participate.
So by sharing, or even just acknowledging the 6-7 meme, you're immediately signaling to your peers that you're scrolling at the same speed.
Exactly. That you're absorbing the same cultural shorthand and participating in the latest wave of absurdism.
It's cultural currency at lightning speed. It just bypasses the need for long narrative setups. You share the meme, you acknowledge the confusion, and for that one moment, you belong to the shared group that understands the current state of online humor.
It's a powerful temporary tribal bond.
It's an affirmation of shared presence.
And in an age of just total information overload, simplicity is a form of relief, and shared absurdity is a form of cultural cohesion.
That's a strong point. So moving beyond the mechanics, let's explore the chaos realm. I mean, the actual cultural interpretations that users started generating. Because once a meme is out there, people don't just consume it, they actively start creating lore for it, even for something that's fundamentally meaningless.
The human mind, and especially the collective online mind, it abhors a vacuum. Even when the original source is known to be simple, there's this powerful compulsion to assign meaning to it. And we see a split.
What's the split?
Well, some users just embrace the numerical pairing as pure, abstract internet humor. For them, it's like the highest form of a joke about nothing.
But then you have the other group, the ones who start creating elaborate, often nonsensical backstory, right? Trying to connect 6 and 7 to, like, previous internet events or even older specific math jokes.
Exactly. They actively create the lore. We've seen this resurgence of ancient elementary school math jokes that seem to be surfacing purely because they fit the numerical theme. It's a kind of ironic traditionalism.
So the new minimalist joke is accidentally connecting back to a shared cultural memory of simple number puns.
And that accidental bridge between generations, the ones who remember the old school jokes and the new generation of minimalists, it just fuels more discussion and more engagement.
I remember seeing threads where people were claiming 6-7 was a coded reference to an event from a specific video game's lore, or even that it was a commentary on the sequence of certain musical notes. It's like they're trying to give depth to a completely flat surface.
They're essentially playing a collective game of interpretive poetry. And this pursuit of meaning, even when it's totally futile, becomes the secondary layer of the humor.
It's also really interesting how the interpretation shifts based on the platform. The same two numbers can mean something slightly different depending on the context of the feed you find them in. This platform divide really highlights how the medium shapes the message.
It gives us, 4 distinct community utilizations? Let's look at TikTok first, which is where it often starts.
Okay.
On TikTok, the 6-7 meme is primarily focused on short skits and audio remixes of the source clip. It's a performance-based meme. The emotional reaction, the sound, the visual absurdity, those are the primary drivers.
But then you jump over to Reddit, especially the subreddits that are dedicated to deciphering internet trends, and the whole tone changes.
Completely. Reddit becomes the analytical lab. You find these lengthy threads, sometimes written with this, like academic formality, all dedicated to debating and finding the definitive meaning of the joke.
They treat it like an unsolvable riddle.
Or a philosophical statement. They're creating these meta-narratives, arguing over whether the absence of a joke is itself the true joke, and by doing that, they just enhance its lore and complexity forever.
And then the environment shifts again when you hit X, what used to be Twitter.
X is where the satirical extraction really thrives. Users there employ these highly ironic and anti-ironic versions. Because 6-7 is now shorthand for meaninglessness, users will take a really complex political issue or an overly complicated current event and just reduce it to the numerical pairing.
I've seen that. They'll post a link to some heavily nuanced op-ed and just caption it, "This really explains the whole 6-7 dynamic."
Exactly. They're using the meme to satirize the complexity of real-world discourse. They're equating serious topics to the meaninglessness of the joke.
So it strips the complexity out of a serious subject by reducing it to the most abstract and confusing cultural shorthand available.
It turns the numbers into a weapon of satirical commentary. It's basically saying all your hot takes and complex arguments are just as meaningful as these two numbers.
Yeah, what about Instagram? How does it play out there?
Instagram Reels lean heavily on the visual aesthetic. It's dominated by simple, highly stylized videos where the numbers are paired with these cryptic captions. It relies on the visual presentation and the ambiguity to create the sense of knowing, cool detachment. It's the vibe of the joke, not the analysis, that's prioritized there.
So if the original joke was just 6 and 7, the cumulative effect of all these platforms misinterpreting it, overanalyzing it, or satirizing it is what generates the maximum viral fuel.
Absolutely. The misinterpretation isn't a bug, it's the core feature. The confusion and the subsequent effort to resolve that confusion are the energy source. And this leads us directly into the most sophisticated layer of the trend, the meta-humor.
Specifically, the rise of the parody explainers.
Yes, the parody explainers.
I love these. They perfectly embody the self-awareness of the current internet.
They're the videos or articles that use, charts, graphs, intense background music, and this overly serious language to explain, often for like 5 minutes, why the 6-7 pairing is the most Alex philosophical statement of the year. The language they use is deliberately dense and confusing.
They're essentially mocking the analyst class people like us by using our own analytical language against the most trivial subject matter possible.
It's humor that critiques the act of analysis itself. I mean, every time something simple trends, there's this immediate demand for journalists and content creators to dissect the real meaning behind it.
Right.
This 6-7 meme, being inherently meaningless, allows the community to engage in this massive coordinated effort to parody that demand for meaning. It's the internet laughing at its own analytical instincts.
It's the community saying, we know this means nothing, but watch us pretend it means everything just to make fun of the people who insist on finding meaning. It's a form of digital resistance to information density.
And this just reinforces the power of simplicity. The minimal nature of 6-7 makes it the perfect blank canvas. If the trend were specific, say a 20-second clip about a celebrity's failed cooking attempt, the ability to remix and reinterpret would be constrained by that original context.
But because it's just two numbers, the invitation to layer on creative meaning is universally open.
The genius is truly in the void it creates.
Which shifts our focus to the final part of this, the analysis. The psychology driving it all. Why do these shared, ambiguous jokes hit harder and create stronger bonds than traditional jokes with a clear setup and payoff?
Well, it comes down to some pretty basic human psychology and the need for in-group signaling. These shared, ambiguous jokes are incredibly effective mechanisms for fostering strong, temporary communities, a powerful sense of in-group belonging.
So in a really fluid online world,
The shared understanding of a joke that's fundamentally based on a lack of understanding is an instantaneous, powerful bonding agent.
it's high-speed cultural shorthand. You and I share this reference, we're in the loop, and that sense of shared, fleeting knowledge creates social cohesion. Our sources have noted that humor in 2025 is just so heavily driven by the mechanics of remix culture.
And 6-7 is the perfect vehicle for it. The original clip is just the foundational sample. It's the beat. The millions of duets, stitches, parodies, and analytical videos are the endless remixes.
Everyone gets to participate.
Everyone gets to put their personal spin on the base concept, maximizing participation and minimizing the cognitive load. This level of mass participation is exactly what the platforms are designed to promote.
But let's challenge that paradox one more time. If the internet is demanding higher quality and more visually complex content, why do the most nothing or minimal memes so often trend the hardest? Why does this low-effort, high-return formula beat out the 5-minute high-production sketch?
Because the cognitive effort required to process complexity is just too high for the fast-paced social feed. If I have to explain a joke, I've already lost the audience before the payoff. The key, as we established, is ambiguity. Complex jokes reduce shareability because they require investment.
But ambiguous content, like 6-7, is highly efficient.
Right. And crucially, the algorithm rewards the friction that ambiguity creates. It doesn't reward elegance or clarity.
Not at all.
Social media algorithms reward friction because it translates directly into conversation, high comment velocity, and users spending more time on the app trying to resolve their confusion. It's that constant stream of, "What is this? Explain this to me," that acts as the primary jet engine for its virality.
It's a brilliantly efficient, a little cynical engagement machine. The actual content, the two numbers, is almost negligible, but its structure is perfectly optimized for platforms that are just seeking maximum conversation metrics.
The algorithm doesn't care about philosophical meaning. It only cares that the conversation is happening.
So we can actually formalize this. There's a clear structural virality formula that the 6-7 meme demonstrates perfectly. This feels like the key takeaway for understanding content success right now.
It really is.
Okay, let's break down those elements slowly because this feels like the pinnacle of the analysis. What are the essential components?
First, you have simplicity. The content requires an absolute minimal cognitive load. You don't have to learn a backstory, you just need to see the numbers 6 and 7. This ensures immediate accessibility globally.
Okay, simplicity first, then what?
Second is relatability, or the lack thereof. The joke is based on the most basic of concepts, sequential numbers, which makes it universally accessible even when it's completely misunderstood. If you can count, you're in the audience.
Simple, relatable. And the third?
And third, and maybe the most powerful, is remixability. The format is perfect for duets, stitches, personal reinterpretation. It's not a closed loop. It's an open invitation to every user to stamp their own cultural meaning onto that empty canvas.
So when you combine that ultra-high simplicity, the universal accessibility, and the perfect remixability,
Those factors combine to guarantee algorithmic dominance.
the 6-7 meme dominated feeds because it was the perfect vacuum that just drew in content and engagement, forcing millions of people to stop and talk about absolutely nothing.
And this cultural moment tells us a great deal about the current state of humor in 2025. We're seeing a really significant audience signal here. Younger audiences are leaning heavily into minimalism and absurdism.
It feels like an active, collective retreat.
It is, from the paralyzing information density that defines our current feeds.
It's such a shift away from the more complex narrative-driven memes we saw maybe a year ago, where you needed prior knowledge of a specific geopolitical event or some niche community's lore to get the joke.
Precisely. Those narrative memes required heavy investment. This trend signifies a definite return to format-based and numerical meme cycles. It's a desire for speed, for abstraction, and for shared, fleeting cultural moments that require zero intellectual investment but grant maximum, immediate community payoff.
So the 6-7 meme isn't just some silly joke, it's actually a cultural signpost. It's indicating that the internet has perhaps hit peak complexity and is now actively seeking and rewarding simplicity again.
Even if that simplicity is based purely on absurdity. It is the ultimate zero-effort joke with maximum engagement return, perfectly engineered for the platforms it lives on.
So to wrap all of this up, the 6-7 meme dominated feeds this week, not despite its lack of inherent meaning, but precisely because its lack of meaning created this high-friction environment. It maximized engagement and it forged a temporary, powerful, shared internet language.
It's the digital sound of the internet laughing at its own desperate compulsion to analyze everything. A perfect demonstration of how chaotic, ambiguous content is often the most algorithmically productive.
Indeed. It leaves you wondering what two symbols or two colors or two sounds will create the next great cultural vortex of confusion. Next time on Trending Unpacked, we're breaking down Panthers versus 49ers, why this matchup is everywhere online, and what fans are arguing about. See you then.